So just how important is the need for speed in Battletech? That's what we're going to explore in this Tactica vlog, looking at it from the perspective of individual mechs. Lights, of course, are going to be much, much quicker. The slowest light is going to be quicker than perhaps one of the more speedier heavies or assaults. We'll put Irby to the side for a moment. He has a special place. Likewise, looking at the hex map that you're playing on or the gaming area, and also keeping in mind your fellow lance mates. We really don't want to get so far ahead that now we're riding solo. So naturally, yes, here's the mech that I want. I want it to be very fast, above average speed for its weight class. I want it to have lots of armor. I want it to have jump capability. I want it to have autocannons, PPCs, missiles, long, medium, and short range, and I want it to be 1,000 battle value. What we see, of course, in mech design is this give and take. You can't have everything. And the areas that you're strong in, if I have a mech that's very, very jacked up fast, and it's a light mech, it's going to have even less armor than normal, so I'm going to utilize that speed to keep it alive. Or if I'm a heavy mech that has speed but is sacrificing weapons, then I'm going to try and get into position where I can use that speed and that armor to make the difference. So there is this trade-off back and forth. But speed is very, very important. In terms of gameplay area, I find if we're playing on one hex map or two hex maps, kind of a controlled gaming area, speed is important, not so much in terms of outflanking or kind of running up the side of the map. You can, but eventually even the medium to slow machines will chase you down in a turn or two. Speed in a smaller gaming area is all about getting rear armor. It's about hanging back with your lance mates. And once we're engaged and we're fighting hex to hex and we're locked in, that is the moment. That is the moment that you break out with that fast machine. And based on initiative order, moving last as best as possible, you've got rear armor. That's where we see it in smaller types of hex maps. In larger gaming areas, maybe you've put together 4, 5, or 6 hex maps, or you're playing on a more traditional wargaming table. Now, yes, absolutely, rear armor is still important, but now speed becomes very, very interesting in that you can zip up the flank, the side of the table, hang out in the back for a turn or two, give your opponent a choice. Just to kind of framework this, I've got a Jenner. I say a Jenner because it's got good speed. It's got amazing weapons for its weight class and its battle value. It's not something that you can necessarily ignore, but as a Jenner pilot, maybe I could take a hit or two, but I'm still a light mech. I still got to be very, very careful. So if we're on this large wargaming table and you move up the side, I move up the side. Well, you move up the side. You're doing it to me. You move up the side. You're now in my deployment zone. I've got my 2 or 3 lances. I have to make a decision. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to move out of my deployment zone for mission objectives or to dominate certain key points, battle points on the map. If I hang back and deal with your Jenner and maybe send a lance to box it in or a couple of tanks and hovers, well, that's battle value that I've pulled off to deal with that I'm not moving up. Likewise, if I'm like, well, it's just a Jenner. It's never just a Jenner, but it's just a Jenner, and I move forward. I push my units forward to dominate the mid-table range area and key points, then that Jenner is going to hang out for a turn or two. Once my units pass by, you're going to zip out and now just get rear armor, get motive strikes on my vehicles, and just generally make a complete mess of things. So speed in larger areas, it's about the deployment, it's about the outflank, and it's about making that end run. When the maps shrink, as they shrink, then it's more about waiting for that breakout moment for rear armor. The third piece to understand about speed, and then we're going to turn it over to my fellow mech commanders. What are some fast, very fast battle mechs? What spurred this was we were playing a recent game with clans, and I was facing Trial of Possession, Jade Falcon, of course, restoring order to the Desgra inner sphere. Fighting a fire moth, and I haven't fought a fire moth in a long time. Like, I know it's got the boost, I know it's fast, but this thing was insanely fast. And I was like, yes, speed tactics. But this third part, before we turn it over to the Q&A, don't move so ahead of your lance. If I've got, let's say, a Warhammer, a Rifleman, a Phoenix Hawk, and a Jenner, that lance, that's some higher battle value lance, but I've got the tools, I've got the tech, I've got the talent, I've got some bite. That's a solid lance. I want to move together. Now, where my mechs are in this grouping area, maybe I want my heavies on the left and the light a little bit over to the right to protect it from range so I can break out. Maybe I want to have a heavy and heavy on either side and pull back with the medium and the light. You know, there's lance movement and deployment, and we're going to explore that and get into that for the new players. But essentially, I want to work together as a group and never really get three or four, maybe 5 hexes ahead of each other. That's a little far. I want to be like 3 or 4. I want to stay tight. So this way, if something comes in to attack one of my mechs, I can respond with all of my mechs. Everybody needs to kind of keep pace. If I find myself moving ahead and it's like, oh, I can take that shot, I'll just push the Jenner up a little bit more. And yes, I'm at long range for those medium lasers, but I'll zap you. I got redundancy. And I push myself forward and forward and forward. Now I'm 5, 6, 8, 10 hexes ahead of my lance, and I find myself isolated. And of course, with a light mech, that could be devastating. But there are some heavy machines that are fast too. If I'm playing an assault lance and I've got a fast assault mech, that gets a little bit ahead. Yeah, it has the armor, it has the weapons, but it's putting itself at risk. So you've got this fast machine, whatever that definition is, light, medium, heavy, or assault. Don't get so far ahead with the speed that you leave your other lance mates behind. So now, turning it over to my fellow mech commanders, my fellow mech warriors, inner sphere and clans, because I brought up clans. What are some of the really fast light mechs? 2 questions. Fast light mechs to explore, and then for the lulls or just to take someone by surprise, heavy or assault class machines that are extremely fast, that kind of break that traditional heavy or assault mode.